it play and call it work.
Hey everybody, welcome to a weird impromptu discussion. Luka and I keep kind of semi-hijacking the staff meetings by talking about 9th edition. So Dave told us to go record a video. So
right.
We have spoken a lot about 9th edition as the information has evolved over the last little bit. And we're going to have the conversation semi again, but there's something I want to point out to you. I want to get your input on, because weirdly enough, there's something I want to talk to you about that was very much affecting our game today. No spoilers about that game, so I don't know when that game's going to go out, but it will take place. So obviously we're both super excited for 9th. I think you and I are more excited than anybody else. What are your thoughts with what we got released so far?
So first and foremost, I am a big fan of any change whatsoever. I got some of the articles open up. So if I ever go white on you guys there, it's because my monitor's throwing white at me. That's why that's going on. Anyways, I am a big advocate of change in any way, shape, or form. Even if the edition is perfectly healthy, perfectly fine, there's got to be change anyways, just to kind of keep that like perfect imbalance going, that like so it doesn't stagnate. And Games Workshop typically has pretty good timing on when editions come out. You know, I'm feeling it, and that's all I can really say. I'm feeling a new edition, and lo and behold, there it is, perfect, awesome, and the rules look solid. What this is going to kind of remind me of is, for anyone who played back when 2nd edition made the transition to 3rd edition, it was a complete rewrite of the rules for all intents and purposes, and that's kind of what 7th, 8th was, right? Yeah. So you have your new 8th edition rules, but they are preliminary, right? They're trying out a brand new build on their game, and it's going to go through a lot of changes. These changes you're about to see now are going to be minor compared to the changes in the next 3 years to come, but they're going in the right direction.
So weirdly enough, over the years, as Luke and I talked earlier this morning, we've played like thousands of games of Warhammer 40,000. It's weird. We play a lot of Warhammer 40,000. And a lot of the things we've talked about over the years that we would change have kind of creeped up already in what we've seen in the leaks. Obviously, there's probably much more to the data than we can, like we don't have all the information yet. So we're talking about just what we know. The command point restructure. Vehicles being able to fire while no longer engaging in combat and stopping them from firing. A change to flyers and blast. The information out today as we record this. Which one were you most excited for?
Well, there's probably the vehicle one, but they threw a surprise at me with that vehicle one, which I was very happy with too. In fact, I can't remember if it was exactly thrown into the big guns never tire rule, but they essentially brought the relentless rule back in the game, and that I am a huge advocate of. So what that essentially is anything that isn't infantry ignores moving and firing heavy weapons. So that's going to work for bikes, which were relentless before. It's going to work for monsters, which were relentless before, and walkers kind of were. And when I shouldn't just throw the word relentless around. You were able to move and fire weapons without snap firing them. And you were able to fire rapid fire weapons and heavy weapons and still charge. That's what it used to do. But now it's kind of... The only thing that doesn't get it, that should still get it, and I would love to see them change that, is Terminators still suffer... As far as I know, as far as it's written, Terminators still suffer the -1 to hit.
Well, hey, again, that could change.
That could easily change. And if anyone's saying, well, they're going to phase Terminators out, they don't matter. Chaos just got a new Terminator box set. The Terminators are still strong in the Legion, so I would suspect.
I was going to build up to this, but like you already got on it. I think Terminators are the thing we haven't seen a change for yet, and something you and I have discussed most about since the drop of 8th edition, how to improve them. I mean, you can't keep dropping their point costs. We don't have a good solution.
It could easily just say make them 5 points a model, then oh wow, they're the best thing in the game.
Right.
Yeah. But what I want to see a Terminator do is I want to see one army have a 5-man squad of Terminators and be like, crap, that's scary. He actually decided to bring Terminators today. Right. I want to see those 5 Terminators take the brunt of fire from a good portion of the enemy's army. I want to make it so I want to see Terminators like the last thing to fire at. You're wasting your ammunition, you're wasting all of your resources firing at them. They should not die. Terminators should not die on the battlefield. They should very rarely die. They should be the last thing fired at.
My favorite thing in the game. Yeah.
Yeah, Terminators are my favorite thing in the game. When you read about them, you play video games with them, they are unstoppable. Like their whole thing is like they don't stop moving, because once they do, it's hard to pick up that momentum. They're like Juggernaut essentially. The more they move, they're like they're supposed to be an unstoppable force. Now I know Terminators are old. They're older, but I would love to see them rehashed. They are so iconic, at least for me, for veterans.
Well, like, I think, okay, I already said it already in this video. We talked about Terminators forever. We don't have a good suggestion. And if they figure something out, kudos on them. If they don't, I don't blame them. The structure of the game has changed so much and no longer really supports Terminators.
Right. And then, like, touching back on what I said earlier about... I meant to say more, I just kind of lost track of my train of thought, which often happens. So, with this new, we'll call it 9th edition. I don't know, I think, are they calling it 9th edition? I don't think they really call editions anymore, but we tend to label them. Regardless, like, new 40K. It's going to be the kind of, like, when 3rd edition came out, they came out with 4th edition, which was just 3rd edition, but better. And then, well, arguably, right, they're like, that's all biased. But
same
regardless.
7 and 6, right?
Exactly. So 3rd edition and 7th edition of 40K are the same foundation of a game, but like the way the special rules worked, the universal special rules, and how some of the phases worked suddenly changed, and that's what you're seeing now. And they've found a template, a foundation of a game that brings people into the game, teaches them the game in half an hour, 45 minutes, and then they're able to go from there, as opposed to having to train and learn, which was what 7th edition was. You never picked, like, you could play a game of 40K and grasp your second game well enough, where that was not true at all for any of the previous editions. You were constantly looking up charts, constantly looking up the rulebook all the time.
7th was a game of, I don't want to get into that. It was actually, I love 7th edition, don't get me wrong.
I love that
like
edition
the rule set, not the formations.
Yeah. The core rulebook, the rulebook of 7th edition was awesome.
I wanna jump to I had a moment of semi-panic / fear, but then I'm like, wait a second. We don't know the rule set of the game yet. Ignore it. But I want to explain to you one that kind of has me kind of like, okay, I want to see how this goes. Have you seen the table size change?
Yeah. Okay. So I looked at that. I actually have it right here. I got a few of the articles pulled. Oh, geez. Well, I'm having a hard time. There we go.
They're not invalid, but I mean.
Right. So it's create the battlefield. You have your 44-inch by 30-inch, 44 by 60, and 44 by 90, which is. So 90 is kind of, how many points is Onslaught again? I can't even remember.
Onslaught.
4 detachments. The Onslaught's bigger. Onslaught's closer to your Apocalypse size games. Yeah. So I guess the 44, like even Strike Force, which is your typical 2,000 point game, it recommends a 44-inch by 60-inch, which is not quite 6 feet long, because 72 inches is 6 feet long. So it's weird. They're drastically changing up the battlefields, which is fine. Because we'll figure it out. I'm sure a lot of people are going to play on 6x4 tables regardless. I don't think this is actually going to have that big of an impact on the game. Fair. So I could be wrong.
But think about this. Again, before anybody like jumps on this bandwagon with me or shoots me down, again, one rule change that we don't know about could throw everything out of the water. However, so I'm talking about the game that we played today. Again, no spoilers to the viewers. Raven Guard have the ability to deploy really close to you, and then maybe move and charge and all that kind of stuff, right? So, well, with these smaller tables, what if No Man's Land is closer, right? So we have less.
What do you mean, like less No Man's Land?
Yes. So we're losing a few inches off the table, right, on a normal table board. Maybe that comes out of No Man's Land, which means assault armies get a little closer.
We're coming in. Yeah.
However, the one scenario that I've seen them released, maybe others, the one that I saw, has No Man's Land still 20. Like you're still deploying 24 inches away from each other.
Yep. So that's like their go-to staple. I think they're not going to shy away from that. But
yeah, okay. So think about this. So if you were to fight the list I played again today, you would typically take your guns or whatever and hide them farther on your table edge, so it's harder for me to get to you. You have less. You have less room now. You're closer to me. So this Alpha Strike stuff is helped by the smaller table.
It's true. So
that scares me, but again, things could change.
To compare to the game we played, we usually play with 48 inches short way. Mm-hmm. So we're 24 inches apart. That means we have 12 inches of deployment on both ends. So with that new 44 inches, assuming you still have 24 inches of No Man's Land in most circumstances, like a Dawn of War style. We'll just say Dawn of War, which is your long table edge of deployment zone, and you're 24 inches away from your opponent. That means you have 12 inches of deployment. Now, with this new recommended table size, you only have 10 inches of deployment. If you're assuming you still have 24 inches of No Man's Land, which you should. You should have that.
You think.
You're losing 2 inches of deployment. Is that going to make or break the game? No, but it is going to affect it. But we don't know
Right.
how everything else works. That's immediate looking at it speculation. You can't even play test it because you don't know what else is going to change.
Well, that's funny because before we started recording this video, Dave actually suggested that we play test some of the rules. We're like, wait a second, we could, but we don't know all of them. So it's like we're just play testing with we don't have all the pieces of this puzzle, so we don't want to try it yet.
Like you could assume that like what you read with the blasts or what you read with the big guns never tire, you could assume that's going to stay, but you don't know what a blast like. If you're a veteran, you played all the older editions, you have a pretty good idea of what a blast is going to be. But here's a question: is a flamer going to count as a blast? It should, but is it? Right?
Interesting. So the blast changes came out today. The time we're recording this, I don't know when this will go up. We don't know, whatever. I actually love the blast changes. If you're firing,
100%.
That's a fantastic idea.
It's a fantastic idea. They showed a little bit of that in the form of like abilities, like a Vindicator would. Is it Vindicator? Yeah, like a Vindicator would have D3 shots or D6 shots against a bigger unit. Like there was something like that. But then they're like, okay, that's too weak. Let's just make it D6 shots. Okay, this is still too weak. We're not really representing blast properly. This is a much better way of doing it compared to the old blast templates. So this is a perfect medium ground, I think.
If you were playing for a while, Vindicator, for example, was suggesting the Demolisher cannon, it got way worse against hordes and stuff, but it got way better against vehicles because you can only get one hit before. Now you get D6. So now we're getting probably at least 3 or full 6 shots on hordes. These big blast pipe template vehicles are back. I hope.
Yes, and I didn't expect them to go with the if it's 6 to 10 models, then you get minimum 3 hits, which is nice.
Plus.
And then 11 plus is the maximum amount of hits. I figured they were either going to do random or maximum. I'm very happy to see that they went with the medium as well. So you have your random between 1 and 5 models, random amount of hits, and then your guaranteed 3 to 6, and then your maximum 6. Now, there's a lot of Is there a lot of blasts out there that do 2d6 hits? I'm thinking like a rapid fire battle cannon. It's got 2d6 hits. So that's technically, but before they used to shoot a blast twice. So it'd be like, I think that would be, 12 hits. There's a couple, I would.
So on that note, the ones that fire twice, I guess you have to resolve the first one. Like say for example, Basilisk.
If you have, like say you're shooting at exactly 15 models or something, and you kill 6 of them.
See, that's I don't like that.
I don't think that's going to be the case though.
Well, because of rolling and resolving dice singly is supposed to be how you're supposed to do it, and we always use fast dice. Like for example, today, I played some Raven Guard, and there's a lot of times where Luka wants to roll a bunch of dice, and I have to be like, hold on. Only fire one gun at a time because if you kill one guy, it's just I don't like that. It slows the game down too much. I think they did a fantastic job removing most of that.
I think it comes up mostly for you because you play Raven Guard. It doesn't really come up that much with other armies.
It comes up a lot with Raven Guard, unfortunately.
Yep.
It comes up with squads of plasma.
Yes.
If you want to do it you want to do it very precise and very methodical, and it comes up with technically it could come up with like. Battle cannons and basilisks if that doesn't change. But that
well, I would be surprised if it did because a rapid fire battle cannon technically is only one weapon that shoots 2d6 shots. So it's probably gonna just be like 12 hits or 3 to 12 hits if you're shooting at something 6 to 10. My biggest not concern but curiosity is I would love to see them make a different classification for Flamer. I do want to see them slowly go back into the different classifications of weapons. All they have to do is write, this is what a flamer does, blah, 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 if you're shooting at a unit. But because a flamer should have the additional, I think, of ignoring cover. I think a flamer should ignore cover flat out.
And can't hit the flyer roll.
And it can't hit flyers. A flamer should not be able to hit.
It can hit flyers, just not the flyer roll.
Yeah. Right, and I don't think blasts should hit flyers either, but then you can make the argument that they could. Certain ones could if they shoot them out. Some could go far enough, but can you imagine, just, you're trying to think of the thematic nature of the game compared to the practicality of it, and it's not always perfect. But I think Flamers should ignore cover. They should have the same rules as Blast, where they have certain amount of hits against certain size units, but ignore cover as well. But that's actually not important at all. But I want to see it anyways.
Back when we had guests regularly, I had this conversation all the time because everybody wants to come in and play Warhammer and talk Warhammer. And there's a couple of things they was asking me, like, what would you change? And actually very few people agreed with me on the big one. But one, I would like to see them change Plasma Gets Hot to be unmodified 1. But how do you do that with just a rule set change? Because it's in all of the codices. You couldn't. Right?
Yeah, you'd have to. They'd have to do one of those FAQs. Okay, change it had to be like a small little blurb here. Change this wordings on these weapons. Plasma here, plasma here, plasma here.
Not
Unmodified
ones. See that, but this is the one. Most people disagree with me. I would love to see this command point reroll, the stratagem to reroll a die, removed from 9th edition. Get rid of it.
Get it out of here. Yeah.
I don't like that one. I use it all the time. I don't like.
I know everyone uses it all the time, but
no one agrees with me. Very few agree with me.
Right. I've heard different arguments on this one because Scary, I've talked to this one a lot too. I don't like it because it kind of takes away that initial feeling of a result, and it slows the game down a lot. Maybe it slows the game down because what if you take like a minute or 5 minutes? Well, I don't know if too many people take 5 minutes to consider a reroll, but you sit there for 30 seconds. I'm not going to reroll that one, and then it comes up again. Maybe the next couple rolls later, you sit there for 30 seconds and you think, I'm not going to reroll that one. Or, you have that exciting moment of, oh my gosh, I finally killed that character. I got through that 3-up invuln. Oh, I still have my reroll. I want to see it. But then Scari's argument on it was pretty valid as well because it kind of gives you certain value to certain roles, and it shows your opponent what you as a player value in certain roles too, and where they're considering to put their command. There's a lot of stuff to consider.
You can talk about that from a tactical point of view. If you're playing a tournament and you look where he's spending his command point rerolls, you can definitely gather information. I come from the point of all the best moments I have in my memory from gaming is the time you shouldn't have made that charge, or the time you should have made that charge but you didn't. And these moments are significantly less in this edition than ever before. Like, I need a 5+ to cast is 1 power. I need it. I can't believe I didn't get it. Oh, the game's completely changed. It would have been a crazy moment, or one now just happened. No, we'll reroll a die. I think tactically and from a competitive standpoint, there's some value to it for learning from your opponent. But I think it just takes too many of those moments, and that's why I play these games, right? For me,
that's so. Those are your examples of your exact opposite arguments, right? So, like the competitive player, it gives them more reliability in their army, whereas from the more casual, like Steve and myself, we like those memories. Yeah. I have a lot of memories from games back in the day where it's like a boxcar charge or a double one on a charge. Like you need a 3 on the charge, double one. Well, you have a command point reroll. You're probably not going to roll another one. I mean, ones and ones happen often, but without that reroll, then you're like, wow, I'm going to take a minute here to cool down and grasp what just happened and kind of formulate a completely new plan. Whereas the reroll's very nice for your competitive, more structured games.
I enjoy 8th. I've had a lot of fun with 8th edition. I just seem to have more memories of that moment in 7th edition. Way more of them. And that's years ago. Like, I should have less of them than an 8th. I just have more of those memories for 7th. So that's
now 8. I was gonna say 8th is the 8th. Like, for me, I'm still a bigger fan of the older editions of the game. But with these inclusions of these new rules, 8th is stepping very closely to almost like an identical system, but with easier mechanics when it comes to 8th edition, right? So now you're including a universal, like, I want to see more universal special rules in the game. Blast. You're going to have a weapon, it's going to say blast on it. That is technically a universal special rule. You then have to go look up in the core rulebook to see what blast does. I want to see more of those, and that's technically what 3rd to 7th edition was. 3rd edition came out, there wasn't really a lot going on. There's a couple special rules, blah, blah, blah. And then 7th came out and added more and more and more and more.
Was 3rd edition, or was it 2nd edition, or was Blood Angels and Orcs in the starter set?
2nd edition was Blood Angels and Orcs, I think. Well, there's space for... There's Blood Angels on the cover of, like, the expansion for 2nd edition.
It's been so long.
It's been a long time. Anyways, what were we going to say?
I just, was that the edition where they had multiple Flamer templates?
Yes, that was 2nd edition. Okay. So 2nd edition had 3 different Flamer templates, I believe.
I prefer stuff like that. Like, I understand a lot. Like, Dungeons & Dragons, Warhammer 40,000, plenty of board games and card games out there are getting... not simplified, like they're
streamlined.
Streamlined. Yes, they're opening up to a wider audience,
which is smart.
Which is, you know what, I want them to. I want Games Workshop to always make the decision for the company that keeps growing their audience, so I can keep enjoying their game. So if they change a game to something that I like a little less, I prefer it an older way, I'm okay with the change because it keeps the game going that I love. So you and I are very similar. We like the little more intricate games. I want more things to play around with.
And if we really want them, they're out there. But we love the lore and the narrative for 40K. This edition, when it came out, we kind of knew it wasn't. This is just a foundation. This is just a baseline of the game. They want to see where to take it from there, and they are finally going in that direction. We are going to get a little bit more. We're going to get a little bit more nuance in our game. Maybe, just maybe, we'll get more than one chart as well. I love charts. I personally am a huge fan of charts.
Same.
Currently, they're not in the game right now, other than the wound chart, which you never have to reference because why would you have to, right? They don't have the reserve chart anymore. They don't have the vehicle damage chart anymore. They don't have the perils of the warp chart anymore. They've gotten rid of all those, and it just does a general thing, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super easy. That's a great way to get into the game. Very easy to remember and keep a good, healthy pace of the game going. But now they're starting to slowly add more things. But they're safe.
I want to ask you about something that, again, you and I have talked about a lot over the years. About there's two things that kind of take out immersion a little bit in 8th edition. The rest is nice and streamlined. Do you remember what they are?
Is it? So I'm going to assume it's the daisy chaining.
Oh,
is that one of them?
3 things. You're right.
Okay. So Steve and I aren't a fan of daisy chaining. We like what Age of Sigmar's done with the Holy Within.
Yeah. So yeah, daisy chaining. I would like to see something like. Forget this. So this is not relevant to the conversation. But he's talking about like squads shouldn't be able to take one line across the table and block the whole table. Doesn't make sense game wise, but whatever. It's more of an annoyance thing.
Holding multiple objectives. Yeah.
Yeah, I miss vehicle facing.
Yes. Okay. So that is a big one.
I don't think we're going to see that.
As of recording this little discussion between Steve and myself, they haven't released any rules on the supposed changes to flyers or any vehicle facing.
Yes, they did.
Oh, they did release the flyer rules. Okay, then I missed that.
We know a little bit more about flyers. They talked
about.
We
know a little bit more.
You can't force your opponent to crash by blocking the zone. And I think I don't remember if I remember reading or interpreted that you're flying off the table again. Because the other thing I was going to talk about was flyers seem to be very immersion breaking for me. It's flying this way, but I'm firing everything over there. Like these are all front facing guns. So yeah, I like that we see a flyer and a vehicle change already. So two of the things that we talk about a lot.
So like one of the biggest like explanations for how the flyers work is like they shoot at things as they pass by them, but then when they come onto the table, say they're shooting at something over here behind a building that they can't see as they fly on, but they can see it as they fly past it, they wouldn't technically be able to get really any shots on it.
I would often fly this way, and then all my guns are forward mounted, but fire something way over there. At no point where my gun's ever aimed at it.
I know.
All the time,
I know. It's bad.
It always, again, this is nitpicking. Like we shouldn't be complaining about this, but it always broke immersion for me.
Because like in a lot of these cases, like the scope of the battlefield we're playing on, there's no way a flyer would be able to like.
That's true.
Like especially if they're supersonic, right? Like obviously if they have like built-in hover capabilities, that's fine. But flyers should just be. You don't even technically need models for what flyers would represent. There's a couple other games out there.
I agree.
But Games Workshop is a model company, so it makes sense why they sell these models.
So if they don't change nothing about flyers, that's how I speak. I'm totally fine. It's just one of those little weird things.
Yeah, so I wouldn't blame them whatsoever.
Either way, we are super excited for 9th edition, or the
new 40K.
So there's two more things real quick. They talked about a box set coming out, or they're going to show it off this Saturday. Hopefully this video's up before Saturday.
Massive box set.
I'm going to assume that we've seen some pictures, Necrons, which are freaking beautiful, and Space Marines.
Yep.
So you take the Necrons, the Space Marines, obviously. We'll get a couple of those going.
It's a super safe assumption, and I am blown out of the water with all the new Necron releases. I've gotten a lot of emails, people asking, and it's just kind of like it's like overwhelming. I expected if there was going to be anything new Necrons, maybe like an upgraded warrior kit, or like
Oh, the Necron! I sold my Necron army. I'm strongly considering starting a whole new Necron army. That's how beautiful this new stuff coming out is. If you see pictures floating around.
Even anyone with a standing Necron army is going to be starting a new Necron army because of all the new stuff, the War of the Worlds thing, the new monolith-looking thing, the new warriors. I'm personally not going to get new warriors because I already got like 120. I don't want more just because they've been remade. They got like the new destroyers. There's so much going on, characters, everything. It's like a completely new line, completely new army.
So
It's wild.
For me, I'm not speaking for anybody else, but for me, the excitement from when you're a kid, your Christmas or whatever, new edition is 100-fold.
Always. Yes,
Like,
always does that for me. New edition. That's all I can think about.
I know.
Yeah.
New edition. I've been in this hobby since. Oh goodness, it's like 25 years now. Usually every 2 years, because 40K and Warhammer Fantasy, there's been a new edition, and those are always like I've never been more excited for things. So we're both okay. I'm rambling. Super excited for 9th edition. We'll probably make another video after Saturday, as we talk about the box contents, depending on what's released there or what we revealed there.
We'll have more discussion because there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about too, like just like all the potential like dreadnought-like units that are going to get so much better in close comp. Like imagine cool dreadnoughts. They have like their flamers now. They can flame in combat now, and they can do all this cool stuff, and then they still punch things in combat. And defilers defilers are going to be inherently better now, not like game-breakingly good, but a defiler. A Soul Grinder and Defiler, which sucked, are now feasible. You can break them and not feel so bad.
The cut them down stratagem. I love that one. I don't even like combat.
So I like that they tried.
No, it's
but
not that I would have made that a rule that's in fallback.
Yes.
I wouldn't.
Okay. Yes. It shouldn't cost. It shouldn't cost a stratagem. It should just be a base rule. Maybe they'll go a little bit more into it. They're like you have to understand that they're taking baby steps. They can't just do drastic things, right? I would love to see that rule eventually evolve into something like you just get to attack again, or like maybe like there should be something automatic. Like it's too easy to fall back.
I wonder if they now can't take away the ability to fall back, because over the last 2 years or so, a lot of things have gained the ability to turn one charge, reliably charge from 24 inches away. So if you now take away the ability to fall back from Warhammer 40,000, armies that could charge you from that far away are just going to be amazing. So you can't take away fall back. Though
you can't.
I don't like fall back, but it's there now. I think they can't.
I'd rather there's like a part of me would love to just see combat immediately resolved until there's one lasting winner, right?
True,
but it kind of screws up the pacing of the game.
More often than not, though, combats are usually a combat unit versus a non-combat unit.
Yeah, that's true. When you have your two like really durable units, that's when they typically stick around for a while. You're right.
Or else I'm going to argue that I'm just going to shoot you until
you're dead. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
You would technically just both shoot each other until you're both dead, which is what you do throughout the course of a game, anyways.
True.
It kind of represents the combat as well. Combats are typically a little bit quicker and more decisive when it comes to hand to hand.
If you break it down, a 6-turn game takes place in the span of 20 seconds.
It's true. It is a very quick, like the 6 turns in that game is a very short period of time. And I think like the 6x4 table is supposed to represent about a football field of a battlefield.
You know what? People debate, like, everybody's got different opinions on that.
Yeah, it's true. People have debated that one all over the place. But then you could argue for close combat, like Space Marine on Space Marine, they could just be both so equally skilled they never even hurt each other. So that combat could last like 30 minutes or something ridiculous,
you can argue
right?
one Space Marine is going to walk through a whole village of orc boys, right? Like,
it's
fluff. If everything was fluff, then you never see a Space Marine on the table, or hardly ever. Every fight.
As of right now, combat is okay. I miss initiative, and I don't like falling back, but maybe there's going to be something that they're going to address that. Combat is very weak.
We will definitely talk about the Silent King if more information drops about him, because that, for me, is the second most interesting thing unresolved in the lore. First being Cypher, obviously.
Right, and the Silent King getting released is a pretty big surprise, at least for me.
Did not expect it.
Yeah, I didn't expect any of the Necron releases whatsoever. Major players in 9th edition, hopefully. We'll see where the rules go. Not a huge fan of them right now, but we'll see. We'll see.
It. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. This is just rambling about random things from 9th edition that Matt and Dave didn't want us to keep talking about in the staff meetings through Zoom.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. This is just us discussing
what
they've released so far.
I wonder if they don't even upload this video and just made us do it so that we get it out of our system.
We'll use it. We better use it. Yeah. All right. Hopefully that was insightful, or maybe you just wanted to hear more people talk about it. We just mostly wanted to wait until more stuff was released, and there's gonna be more stuff coming out, and we'll make more videos of it. Like I said, hopefully it was insightful. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in. Happy wargaming.